Hi, Anup.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you.
Oh,
How are
I'm
you?
sorry. Actually, we need to live stream. That's why we need to use our Zoom account. But yeah, I'm not very familiar with Zoom.
Okay, so it's not a very complicated device, so I think you're good. Do you
Yeah.
see me? Okay,
Yeah, I can see you.
good.
I can see you.
Now I can see you too.
Yeah. So I am. Yeah.
Okay, Sardindu seems to be joining.
Okay.
Just a little bit of housekeeping, Anup. How long will be this inauguration?
It will be around 30 minutes.
Okay.
So
Hi, Robert.
Hi, Sardindu. How are you?
Fine,
How are you
fine.
doing?
How are things? Yeah,
बंद कर दी.
almost, yeah. Delhi is now out of any restriction. So,
I wish I were
coming
there.
to our offices more regularly. Yeah.
I wish I could have gone.
Yes, we all thought so. Yeah, it would have been really nice to have you here with us and doing it offline.
Absolutely. Next time, maybe. Next time.
Yes, yes, sure.
Are you managing the waiting room?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I'll admit them. So
I'll try to share my screen and you tell me whether it works.
Yes.
Do you see my screen?
Perfect. Perfect. Yes.
Okay. And now, which one do you see? Do you see the
car?
The car, yes, but do you see a full screen or do you see the presentation mode?
Yeah.
Now you should
it's
see
on
full
the
screen.
presentation. Now, yeah.
Okay, now you
Yeah.
should see full
Yes,
screen.
yes.
Okay, excellent. Good.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Perfect.
How many people do we expect?
we have registration around 40 people. We have registration. So some more from your side also will join.
There was certain,
Can you hear me?
there were
Yes.
certain issues, no? No, I'm saying that 40, all of them are for this course. Have you been able to confirm that or no?
Yeah, around 34 for this course. We
Achha.
got registration of 34.
Okay.
There's some background noise somewhere.
Could
Maybe
be
I'll
mine.
ask. Yeah, maybe I'll ask people to mute.
We can ask people to mute or unmute during the presentation, their presentation.
Yeah, there is a parking place just near the window of my office.
Okay.
So even if I want, I cannot make it
what do you
foolproof
hear?
from
What do
some.
you hear? Okay, what do you hear of the war that's going on in Europe? Is that a piece of news in India?
Of course. Indian news channels, I think they have been very active in at least the media, the print media. I generally don't follow the TV channels much these days because of all kinds of issues and the way they conduct their businesses. But print media and the electronic newspapers are full of such reports. And so we almost get an update of every little thing that is going on. Later on, when I check it with BBC or the Moscow Times or other newspapers, mostly the general reports about the war are well covered on Indian newspapers. Yeah. So we also have these students, their evacuation issues. So a lot of concerns in the country.
I can imagine.
Related reasons
It's pretty devastating here, and obviously, there are almost 1.5 million refugees already from the Ukraine. Some of which some of which end up in Austria as well. And all of this is happening about 200 kilometers from here or 300 kilometers from here. So it's pretty near.
Exactly. My son is in Hungary. And so that is an added dimension of concern for us.
Wow. What is he doing there?
He is doing his physics undergraduate studies at the University of Pécs.
Oh, wow. Interesting. That's funny. You know, I was born in Hungary, and I was just there over the weekend. I was there over the weekend to visit my parents, who are. My father is 90. He had his birthday yesterday, so that's funny. How does he like it?
Where in Hungary?
Where in Hungary? In Budapest. Budapest, which is the capital.
So, no, I think he is liking the atmosphere, but some health issues, the coping with the cold, etc. I think, things that
you should give him my email address, and should he need any assistance or help, then just drop me a mail, and I can help. I have friends everywhere, also in Pécs. I have some very good friends in Pécs at the university, so I'm very happy to help. I know the mayor. I know a lot of people around the mayor's office. So should he need any assistance, I'm very happy to help. So just he should drop me a mail.
Thank you so much.
So this is the time for admitting our participant. Should I admit all of them?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, welcome to GIAN course on responsible research and innovation, conceptual framework and practices. So, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, we have our course faculty, Professor Robert Brown, who is with the Institute for Advanced Studies in Vienna, Austria. And this course is supported by Global Initiative of Academic Networks, GIAN, of Ministry of Education, Government of India. And we have privilege to host this course. So Jawaharlal Nehru University is the host institute. And also we have our JNU coordinator, Professor Satyabrat Patnaik with us, and also group coordinator, Professor Prasenjit Sen with us. So welcome all of you to this online platform. And now I would like to invite Professor Satyabrat Patnaik for welcome address.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Das, and welcome, Professor Braun. This is a great privilege that during the pandemic, with so much hardship everywhere, we have been able to conduct this. We look forward to this series of lectures. So GIAN, as we know, is the full form is Global Initiative for Academic Network. So it is not like a conference. The idea is that we want to invite the best in the field, so that the students and the faculty develop a close network towards further development in the field. So it is we're really thankful that you have accepted our invitation. And we know there are challenges. It would have been lovely to have you in the campus. That would probably happen once the pandemic relaxes a little more. With all that, I think the main theme is that the academic network. Of course, students should take some notes, and we will have our PowerPoints and everything. But beyond that, I think the idea of GIAN is close network and some interaction with the expert faculty. Students should get to know the field in a much greater detail. And with this, I think we would really very happy that we could hold this together. And we look forward to this. I think there are around 50 students who have joined this course. And this happens to be the 47th GIAN course in JNU. And we have around 50 odd still submitted proposals, which have not yet gone to the referee because pandemic has kind of derailed a lot of things. But to say the least, we must thank Aki, please mute yourself. Yeah. So we must be thankful to our former rector, Professor Prasenjit Sen, who is also joining here. It is his hard work and his kind of vision that GIAN program came to JNU. And this is probably the only central university with strong humanities background. And initially, it was all given to IITs, all the science subjects. But through his efforts, JNU became part of GIAN, and now several other central universities also have taken advantage of this. But this is a wonderful program, and a great deal of learning process can be accentuated through this. So with those few words, I thank the organizers, my colleagues, Professor Anup Kumar Das and Professor Saradendu Beduri, for being able to do this within the limitation of pandemic and in spite of, with pandemic, without pandemic, in spite of pandemic. I think it's a great learning source for everyone. Thank you, Anup and Saradendu. Yes. Anup, you have to unmute yourself.
Yeah. Now I invite Professor Prasenjit Sen for giving his special address for this course.
Yeah, thank you, Anup, and I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Sir.
Right. So I'm right now sitting in Durgapur, and that's my hometown. And now I'm a little concerned. I don't think I am any more associated with GIAN. I mean, I can speak here. That's not a problem. But I think officially I'm not associated with GIAN. because to be associated with GIAN, you have to be part of the government network. So I'm not part of the government network. I can be invited by good-meaning people like Anup, which is fine. I can speak as well. Now, having said that, the innovation component at JNU was started very many years back when I was the rector of the university, or pro-vice chancellor of the university. And that was in 2015 when the UGC and the MHRD thought that innovation as a theme should be adopted by the universities. I still remember, and I think I have those documents somewhere, not here in Durgapur, it's still in Delhi, that we wrote up something called the Innovation University. And part of the Innovation University tells that innovation is very important and JNU should take a step in those directions. Now, I don't know what happened finally. That Innovation University, which was supposed to be a 300 crore project, and we were expecting to get a substantial amount of that pie, never saw the light of the day. But whatever it is, I'm very happy that a program like this is being floated by our friends, Saradindu and Anup. I know both of them, very hardworking, and I think this is a very, very good idea. One little concern about an Innovation University, which I had at that time in 2014, and I still have it today, is that what is responsible innovation? I'm sure Professor Brown will address this in great detail. This was also a concern at that time, when I used to talk to the Vice Chancellor to present the proposal to the UGC and MHRD. What would be a responsible innovation? When I start with certain components, and innovation, by the way, works at the interface of very many subjects. So when you start making innovation, you start a project, and for innovation, you actually do not know what the outcome could be. If you knew everything, then, well, I mean, then it's no longer any surprise. But mostly you don't know. Invention, of course, is a very specialized component of innovation. And as a result, you really cannot compartmentalize innovation to have any predictable results. And this is where the concern is, that you can be a responsible person. You can start with two components, let's say carbon and oxygen, and land up making carbon monoxide, which is poisonous. So will somebody call me irresponsible? So these are concerns, and I think the speaker is probably adequately knowledgeable about these things, and I hope he addresses some of these. The second thing I would say, it's again from my experience, that the society, involvement of society is very, very important. And this I learned by experience. So I lived for a very long time, about 4 years, in Jülich. Jülich is a nuclear research center place. And we often used to go to the city to buy electronic components. And I still clearly remember this shop where I went, and this gentleman, he, having known that I come from the Kernforschungsanlage, at that time it was to be Kernforschungsanlage because it's a nuclear research center. And he told me, "Sir, where do you come from?" So I said, "India." He said, "Very good. Well, what are you doing here with nuclear research center? Nuclear research has no future. You go back to your country and start working on solar cells." So you see, society is always interested to actually tell you what the innovation should be. And I must stress, and I'm very glad that this component of the lecture in GIAN addresses precisely this topic. That is responsible, that is a societal component into the innovation is incorporated in a lecture or a theme like this. The second surprise, which also educated me immensely, was in New Delhi. And I think I had just become an associate professor. And somebody told me that now, you are an important guy. So you should have your card, your visiting card, printed somewhere. So I went to a place called Munirka. It's not very far from where you're sitting right now. And there used to be these printing shops. And I gave my previous card to this gentleman. He's a young guy, about 25, 26 years old. And I told him, these are the changes to be incorporated. Can you print this card for me? So he looked at the card. He, of course, knew who I was because he could see that I was from JNU, and he's just a neighborhood place. And he knew exactly what I came there for and who I was. So very respectful. He was very, very respectful. And after a long time, after looking at the card over and over again, he asked me, sir, can I ask you a question? So I said, yeah, sure. I mean, you are as old as my students. They keep on asking me all sorts of questions. So you can ask me one. So he said, you won't mind. I said, no, not at all. He asked me, sir, tell me, what has JNU done for us? That changed my perception of teaching. That changed me as a person. That changed my perception of research completely, absolutely completely. And I have completely driven myself away from things that I was doing at that time. That was, I think, around 2000, around the year 2000, when I was working on high energy ion irradiation of materials. I completely changed from that. It was a turnaround. Many people ask me, why did you do that? You had a physical review letters at that time. We were good enough to go in for a Nature publication, and why did you go away? This was one reason why I went away, because of this guy. He asked me, what has JNU done for us? Now, I had no answer to him. And I think responsible innovation precisely is this, to quiz the society or get quizzed by society and answer them all the time that we are doing something for you. And I think that's a very important theme. And I'm very, very happy that it has been formally placed in this beautiful lecture series, the GIAN lecture series. I remember we used to have a lot of discussion at the MHRD level when we were actually setting up the GIAN program. JNU came as a participant for the GIAN program because we are part of MHRD. But as Satyabrat rightly pointed out, initially they actually knocked us out of the management of the GIAN program. And as a result, all the universities were out. There was a very, very tough fight. And I said that we were supposed to be with IIT Delhi or IIT, under the umbrella of IIT Delhi and IIT Kharagpur. I refused. I told them I'm going to walk out of this place. So after a lot of arm twisting, then we started contributing, and I think JNU did a very good job in contributing, not only in contributing subjects or topics, important topics like this, but also in setting up the administrative format of the GIAN program. And all in all, I think it was a very successful thing, that GIAN. But I did not know that it is still running. And I do not want to take more time away from Professor Brown. And I will enjoy the talk, but I'm very happy that this is something that I really love, the innovation part of the university system. And responsible innovation is something that I learned from this title. And I'm very happy again that the societal component of innovation has been put into one word called responsible innovation. So all the best, Professor Brown, and I hope you enjoy your talk and the interactions thereafter. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Sen, for your lovely presentation about the course and about the past and future of GIAN courses. So now I would like to invite Dr. Sharadindu Bhaduri, that host faculty of this course. So, Dr. Sharadindu.
Okay, thank you, Anup. Well, I think co-host faculty, you being the main one in this venture, and thank you very much to you, to Professor Patnaik to see us through, and of course Professor Brown to agree to deliver or to participate in the course despite all the challenges that we are facing at the current juncture. And he has always been a very very generous and a very good friend of CSSP. So I think we are indebted to you, Professor Brown. Professor Sen has given very interesting and enlightening comments on the importance of responsible innovation, and I'm sure during this course we are going to analyze, dissect some of these concerns that have been raised in this context. If I can briefly tell you about the mandate of the course, the way we have tried to design the course is to first, of course, to understand the historical underpinning of responsible innovation discourse, its framework, or rather frameworks, and the various societal mandate and the goals it tries to pursue. But we would also like to extend that scope a bit. We would like to explore some of the work that are going on to extend the boundaries of responsible innovation research and how other alternative theories can be incorporated. What needs to be done to incorporate these other related and alternative theories of innovation into the ambit of responsible innovation, how the discourse can be enriched by having a dialogue with some such schools of thoughts. So that's the bigger mandate, because of its societal responsiveness, we are very much keen to see how responsible innovation research would respond to the societal goals and mandates of a country like India, the societal values it wants to uphold, and so on. So I am sure, along with you, all the participants, it will be a very enriching 2-week program. And at the end of the day, as Professor Patnaik said, we will of course be developing new network, but we will also be able to perhaps enrich our understanding and take the next steps toward making the framework of responsible innovation more enriching and more suitable for us. Thank you. With that, Anup, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much for your kind introduction about the course, and also I would like to share something online now on screen about the course objective and other things. So can you see it? Is it visible now?
Not yet.
No, not yet. Yeah.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Not yet.
Now it is.
Now visible.
Now visible. So we have 4 objectives for this course. The first one is the exposing participant to the fundamentals of RRI and open science. Number 2 is the building of confidence and capability amongst the participants in the applications of RRI and open science principles in the research and development ecosystem in the higher educational institutions, providing exposure to practical problems and their solutions through case studies and best practices in RRI. And number 4 is the enhancing the capability of the participant to identify and problem solving based on RRI based principles and practices. So based on the objectives, we have around 17 lectures throughout the program. So each day we have around 60 to 120 minutes of presentations, and also some discussions among the participants. And we will also invite our participant to the group presentation or any kind of assessment for the course. And we also have some tutorials, so where our course faculty will interact with the participants and will discuss different aspects of RRI, particularly the practical aspects. And on the last day, we have some wrap-up session and also some further cooperation ideas and goodbye comments. So this is our course structure, and I already circulated this course structure to the participants, and they're welcome to have some comments about this course structure through email or through question answer during the question answer session. So now I stop here. So over to Professor Robert Brown for your welcome or introductory address.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone, for being present. Thank you very much for the nice and kind words. Let me start with a caveat. Of course, I'm extremely sad that I am sitting in Vienna, Austria, as I do this, and I'm not sitting at the GNU campus in New Delhi, a place I truly and utterly love, both India and Delhi. So I think that for me, this virtual presence is a sad event. I would very much would love to come, and unfortunately, both the pandemic and the war that is going on in Europe, which is a very strange thing to say, has obstructed me from visiting India. But now I have to be really good. And if I am good enough, then I hope that you'll invite me again. And that time I will go in person. So I have a very, very strong motivation to be, or at least to try to be excellent. And then you'll have a motivation also to invite me again. I do hope that I'll live up to the expectations that the kind introductory speakers have expressed. Partly, maybe they've also done my job. I think that, yes, the societal component of innovation is important, and trying to answer the question, what has the university or GNU done for us? This is it. So maybe I stop here. It's over. Everything has been said already. I don't know how much I can add to this, but I'll try. So let me start sharing my screen. And without further ado, we can start the proper talk. Also, I'll give a very brief, short introduction of myself. So thus, you'll have a way to know where I come from. Does everyone see my screen? It should be an intro.
Absolutely.
An open is okay.
Visible.
Excellent.
Yeah, sir.
So this is me on the screen. As you see, I'm a philosopher of technology. So I come from a tradition of philosophy. My last book was published in 2019. It's about corporate stakeholder democracy. This is a topic that Professor Sardindu will address mostly. My new book, which I do hope that you'll buy, is out in a few weeks. And it's about automobility or post-automobility. And at the second half of the course, I'll talk a little bit about that book and the content. As has been said, I'm a senior researcher here at the Institute for Advanced Studies in Vienna. This is the biggest state-run, owned, and financed social science research institute, about 150 people. It's not big compared to Indian standards, but it's pretty big European-wise. And we don't have departments, but we have interdisciplinary research groups. My research group, which I'm the deputy head of, is called Science, Technology, and Social Transformation. Kind of the three words says it all. We deal with the confluence of science, research and innovation, and technology, and how that transforms society, or how social transformations actually impact both science and technology. And this is pretty much what I'll talk about today. I'm also an associate professor at Masaryk University, which is about an hour away from here. And I also teach at the Technical University here in Vienna. A little bit of housekeeping. I'm very happy to answer any question at any point. However, I also think every lecture will have a 15-minute discussion section at the end. You can also obviously ask or put questions in the chat, and then I can reflect on those as we go along. But please be empowered that should you want to say anything, you can do so. You can interrupt me and stop me, take it over from me, whatever you wish. The main point of these 2 weeks is to have fun and enjoy. I am a type of professor who likes what he is doing, and I hope that you'll like it too. But as said, the most important thing is to enjoy these 2 weeks and the time we're spending together. So what do I do in real life? Here are 3 of publications that I have done recently, just to give a little bit of insight. The book, which is due to be published by Roman and Littlefield in a week or 2. It's about automobility, and my argument, or our argument, because I've written it with a friend and colleague called Richard Randall. Our argument is that to get to post-automobility, we first have to understand what automobility is. And we argue for 300 pages almost, that automobility is a totalitarian socio-technical order. It's not about the car, it's not about the road, it's not about the infrastructure, but it's an imaginary, how we imagine the world, and within that world ourselves. I think this is pretty much a good understanding of what I think of technology. Technology is not an artifact. Technology is not an object. Technology always is a form of life, or is creating a form of life. And it creates a space in which we dwell, or in which we are. Therefore, it is not in the case of automobility, it's not the car that we need to focus on, but we should address the kind of world that this artifact and their relations create or have created. So this is the book. 2 years ago, we published a paper in Science. Again, something that I'll talk about in this course. And there we addressed the problem of responsible research and innovation from the aspect of its practical application. Responsible research and innovation in Europe is obviously a policy that needs enactment, but we argue with a very thorough research that we have done over 4 years and analyzed how this normative ideal of responsible research and innovation has been applied and has been implemented in policy action. And in this paper, we conclude that while responsible research and innovation in Europe is a political or normative ideal, actually very little has been done to implement it into actual policy processes. And we make some proposals how that could be done. And a recent paper in the journal Mobilities, which is the leading journal of mobility or transportation studies, we've very recently published a paper about automobility violence. Again, how this world that we live in or we dwell in, that is a world of automobility, is actually an extremely violent and dangerous world. 4 million people are dying every year. Millions are injured. Altogether, since the dawn of automobility in the beginning of the 20th century, 85 million people have died in automobility, traditionally called accidents. This is more than during the same period how many people died in wars, First World War, Second World War included. So it is an extremely violent world that automobility has created. And within that, we try to understand what it does to our subjectivities or to our personhood. And we argue together with an Italian philosopher called Giorgio Agamben that automobility has created us, people, subjectivities, what Agamben calls homo sacer, a person who only has biological life but not political life. And this has created, this is another argument how and why automobility is a totalitarian order. We are prone to be killed or injured, and those who do that can do that with impunity. And we try to go deep into how this
yes,
order...
sir. Good afternoon, sir. Sir, I was driving actually.
Yes, can you please?
That's why I'm muted for sometimes.
Okay, that's excellent that you're
okay.
driving. please mute yourself. But I'm cautious that you should be listening to a presentation while driving. So maybe you can park for these 50 minutes. It would, ease my soul that I'm not putting you in harm's way. If you can park, then that would be great. Okay, so these are three examples of my work. Obviously, I've published extensively both on RRI and automobility, and hopefully we'll have a chance to discuss some of these. Anup has already told you about the technical details of the course, so I won't trouble you with these. Here's a list of readings, and I'll put in the chat the link. Sorry, the link to. But I have to stop the presentation for that. I'll stop sharing, and I'll put the link to the chat where you can find those readings that are not open access and readily available. So here is the link to our cloud, and you can access the reading. Also, there you find the complete list as well. So please, after the presentation, go and check out the reading list. So these are some of the readings which we are going to discuss. And if you look at these texts, just the title, we'll discuss Tolman's Cosmopolis. We will also talk about what can history teach us. We'll talk about the early days of science policy with Vannevar Bush and Michael Polanyi. Also, we'll discuss the ERC, which is the biggest and most important instrument of excellence-driven research in Europe. And then we'll discuss some of the foundational papers. It asks for login details. Okay, so then I'll check and remove all barriers for access, and I hope that you can access it. So after the presentation, I'll check why does it give you barriers, and hopefully I can remove them, and then you can access all the papers easily. Then I'll go to we'll discuss some of the foundational papers of responsible research and innovation, and then reflect on some of the papers that I've written. So without further ado, let me jump into the first substantive element of this course. Actually, as I am a philosopher, I had two options to prepare and plan this course. One, go really deep into the theory and praxis of responsible innovation, try to answer those questions. What is actually the social component of innovation, and what did universities do for the ordinary citizens? But because I want to have fun as well, and I've done that a number of times, I took a different option. And I thought that this course can give me an opportunity to think through what actually science, research, and innovation means in our societies. And with very broad strokes, I would want to paint you a picture of research and innovation and the societal component as or social mandate, as has been mentioned, of science, research, and innovation, and try to answer some of the epistemic and ontological questions that are related to both research and innovation, in order to answer how research and innovation can be responsible. When we're saying or talking about responsible research and innovation, what we are actually trying to understand is something that I have alluded to with my book. What kind of world do we actually live in? Because the world we live in is both made, created, and understood by, through, and with research and innovation or science. So let me start with a run through of how I approach this story of RRI. This is my version A. So what I want to really ask is not responsible research and innovation. What I want to really ask in this course is what we think, what is the real. Science, research and innovation is making the real. And in the course of answering what we think of what is the real, obviously, we also have to answer the question, who the we are and what the real is, or rather, what is the real that is. And if we look at what is the real, we also have to go into asking what is the history of what we consider to be the real, and whose history is that. And I would be very cautious here, because obviously I am talking to you from the global north, and you're based in the global south. And I think, and this is one of my arguments, that what we think science, research, and innovation is a global north phenomena, and it shouldn't or mustn't be applied as is in global south contexts. So I'll also try to answer the question, whose history is it that we consider to be the real? And then, as I am interested in the politics of responsible research and innovation, or the politics of technology, obviously my question will concern, how do we politicize what is the real? And then this, of course, begs the question, what politics is. Obviously, I'm not talking about party politics. I'm not talking about the politics that usually people think politics is. I am trying to conceptualize how the real is politicized, and how the real is politicized by us humans. And this obviously, again, for a philosopher, begs the question, what does thinking mean when we think about the real? What does thinking mean in this context of politicizing the real? And to ask a Leninist question, if I may, when we have tried to answer all this, how we think of the real, what the real is, who we are when thinking of the real, and whose politics it is that we're thinking and doing the real, then we can ask the question, so with all this, what can be done? And by whom can what be done? Of what? So this was a little bit more complicated version of what has GNU done for us. It's pretty much the same thing, and maybe I should learn the language of that guy who is printing the cards, because the version he told is maybe easier to understand than asking all these questions about the real and the politicization of the real. So I am using this opportunity to talk to you about responsible research and innovation, to think through our world and how that world is created by science, research, and innovation. So here is version B of my story. And this is based on a famous French social theorist's idea, Michel Foucault, whom I'm pretty sure you all have heard, and his concept of the dispositif, which is the politicization of knowledge, or rather the politicization of the combination of knowledge and power. He thinks, or he thought, as he has died unfortunately, he thought that our world is guided by dispositif, which is an apparatus in French, and this dispositif or apparatus is a heterogeneous ensemble of discourses, of institutions, of architectural forms, of decisions, policies, law, administrative measures, scientific statement, philosophical, moral, and philanthropic propositions. Everything, both the said as much as the unsaid. The apparatus or dispositive is the system of relations that is established between these elements. And I think that science, research, and innovation is related to all this. You cannot think of science, research, and innovation without these heterogeneous ensemble of things that are both said and unsaid, today's language, both real and virtual, but it's also institutions, it's policies, it's the law, and most importantly, it's how we see what is real and how we politicize what is real. Following up from this, Foucault has argued that in every epoch, every time in human history, there is an episteme, which is a version of truth that can be or cannot be said. So the episteme, according to Foucault, is the condition of possibility of discourse in any given period. It is a set of rules about allowing discourses to function, allow different objects and different themes to be spoken about at one time and not at another. Basically, the episteme is the truth or the condition of how scientific facts are established. My question is, in this course, whether besides any episteme, that is the condition of possibility of establishing scientific facts, isn't there also what I call an on-theme? A specific way how the world is worlded, to use Heidegger's expression, and an on-theme is a possible worlding as a strategic apparatus, dispositive, as I mentioned, of conditions of the political or conditions of political being rather than of knowledge, whether it's expressed in an imaginary or advanced in practice. So what I'll ask in this course is, besides the conditions of possibility of speaking and not speaking about certain themes or objects, which is in the domain of knowledge, isn't there a way of world making? This is what worlding is. Isn't there a world making that is a strategic apparatus of defining the conditions of the possibility of political being? And with those political being, are we not creating objects and subjects as we imagine them to be, rather than just reflecting upon them as knowledge or as power knowledge? So, translating the question, what has GNU done for us? Maybe in this version is that JNU has created an on-team, or is part of the apparatus of creating an on-team, creating the possibility of a worlding, how the world is and how we are as people in that world. I know it sounds complicated. I hope it will be more clear as we go along. So, my story of this on-team starts in Europe and starts in the 17th century. And here is a quote for you, a quote that please think as deep as you can. This is from Martin Heidegger, a German philosopher. And this is from his book, The World of Art. And the quote goes like this. He says, Heidegger, that violence has long been done to the thingliness of the thing, and that thinking has had something to do with it. So, three components of this amazingly instructive quote. There's violence, and this violence has been done to the thingliness of the thing, that is the object, and thinking, that is human thinking, has something to do with it. So, put it another way, I want to unearth the genealogy of this violence that has been done to the thingliness of the thing, and how thinking has something to do with it. So this story starts. Can you mute yourself, maybe? Somebody has a background noise. Can she or he mute herself, please? Thank you. So this story, my story, starts in Europe, starts in the 17th century. And it starts with the war of beliefs. And this is the time when what we call the scientific revolution has emerged. So the first question is, when is science? That is our theme. And I will surprise you now that science comes from a war. Science comes from the 30 Years' War in Europe that lasted in the 17th century from 1618 to 1649. And it was the First World War, as they call it, although it was limited mostly to Europe. And it was the war of religious conflicts. It was the war between the Protestant church and countries and the Catholic church and countries. And this war that lasted for 30 years has shaken the world. It was devastating. Millions and millions of people have died. It was the first war in which not only armies and military personnel fought, but it was a war in which people have died by the thousands, tens of thousands. And Europe almost died. There was disorder, there was superstition, there was fear, and there was devastation in Europe. And there was an immense need for some security, for some certainty amongst these fighting belief systems that both the Catholics and the Protestants have forwarded, and in the name of which these wars or this war was taking place. And the 17th century saw a strong quest for certainty amongst these fights that so devastatedly ruined Europe. And this quest for certainty wanted to find a timely response to a challenge, a historical challenge that has taken place in the political, the social, and theological chaos that embodied the 30 Years' War. And they found this certainty first in the Cartesian, Descartes' Cartesian program of philosophy that swept aside the reasonable uncertainties and hesitations of the 16th century and before in favor of a new mathematical kind of rational certainty and proof. It created not only a secure body of human knowledge, but also a method how this human knowledge could be rationally validated. And not only did Descartes, in his Cartesian meditations, establish a human knowledge, a body of human knowledge, but he also did two things. He has created the knowing subject, and he has created the knowable object. And he has created a method, that of thinking, in which the knowable object could be made knowable by the knowing subject through rationally validated methods. So, in Decartian theory, basic theories were framed around ideas whose merits were clear, were distinct and certain, and using only demonstrable arguments, it was showing that it had the necessity of mathematical or geometrical proofs. So his story, that is Descartes' story, is the history of responsibility. In a time of devastation, in a time of utter war, a theory emerged. A theory of responsibility emerged that filled the space of the quest for certainty and had and offered the hope to stop the war. This was what we today call the scientific revolution. The scientific revolution was not a revolution at all in the sense that it sparked in one moment. It was a 200 or 300 years period, starting with Galileo and suggesting that, as opposed to the world imagined before, the universe, this grand book of the universe that stands continually open to our gaze, is written in the language of mathematics. And we are able, with this language, to get out of the dark labyrinth that surrounds us. And then Descartes, of course, suggested that we should not accept anything as true that we did not know to be evidently so. So we can avoid precipitancy and prejudice. And in judgments nothing more can be believed in that is presented itself clearly and distinctly to a mind that is void of any doubt, because he has a method, and this method is called thinking. And then Hobbes, in his Leviathan, wrote the late 17th century that no arts, no letters, no society, and worst of all, the continual fear and danger of violent death can be gotten rid through words, and these words will offer strength to secure men in the world. And then John Locke translated this to everyday practice. The labor of the body and the work of his hands is his. Whatever he removes out of nature, out there, have mixed with his labor, and this is what makes his property. So there is the knowing subject and the noble object, that is the world, and together they create both property, and through this unification that is called labor, create something that is the common right of all men. So here we have in front of us what we call the scientific revolution. The scientific revolution actually has very little to do with what's out there in the world. What it has to do with is getting rid of the fear and danger of violent death, as Hobbes had told us. Also, getting rid of the doubt and to avoid precipitancy and prejudice, and to understand the universe, to get out of the dark labyrinth that we have navigated ourselves into with the help of a philosophy that understands the language of the universe, that is mathematics. However, what I'm trying to tell you here is that the scientific revolution created this new episteme. This is a new view of nature that replaced the Greek view that has dominated science for 2,000 years beforehand. And science became, via the revolution, an autonomous discipline that is distinct from both philosophy and technology. But more importantly, or most importantly, science replaced Christianity as the focal point of European civilization. It created a common sense in favor of abstract reasoning. It has substituted quantitative for qualitative view of nature, that is mathematics. It also created nature as a machine as opposed to an organism, and it has developed the scientific method that is experimental and sought to define answers to certain limited questions that were placed within the framework of specific theories. And it created new criteria for explaining the how instead of the why that had characterized Aristotelian thinking for final causes. So the scientific revolution has not created science as an eternal object. What it has created is a way of thinking. It has created a way of understanding and acquiring knowledge about the world out there. But what I'm trying to argue here is that it also created a new on-team. It has created a world. It has created a world that did not exist before. It has created a new world that is populated by the knowing subject, humans, and the knowable objects. All these operating in a mechanistic operation with laws and regularities, and the world as process and evolution, and has created rationality as an utmost value. So, actually, cogito ergo sum, the famous sentence so much quoted by Descartes, I think, therefore I am, is actually a new humanist ontology. It is what the human is. It is what the human is as real in a world that he or she sees as real. And substituting the Euclidean geometry not as an abstract system, but as actually a potential representation of the world, including social relations. This is the map that has been created during and after the scientific revolution. It has created a nomos, to quote or use the word of Carl Schmitt, early 20th century legal thinker. It has created the West and the rest. And it has created land as terra nullius, and its people as steps in an evolutionary process that has been dictated by an evolutionary biological mechanistic model of how the world was populated by these living and non-living beings. It has created the ontological other. Different skin, different space. And with this different skin and different space, it has also created the lesser human, the lesser rational. And it has created the European white man that actually is able to read the book of nature and is able to read the book of nature with moral certainty. So, what is the politics of science? What is the politics of the scientific revolution as we know it? It is science as ontology, worlding, creating the world. It is moving, who is thinking? It's moving from theologians trying to answer the question of why, to astronomers answering the question of how, language of mathematics. And what is being thought is a new spatial order instead of transcendental space created by God, is spatialized transcendence. It is the world that's real, that's out there, that's different from the human subject, who is able to know it and represent it amongst other places on a map. This is something obviously we'll talk about more as we go along. So here is my last slide for today. Science, as I argue, is new ontology and epistemology. It has created a new space, transcendental, which requires governance. It has created a new politics through the liberation from superstition via independence to sovereignty. And its ambition or mandate, the societal mandate, it has created a new societal mandate. As Professor Badawi has said, this mandate encapsulated in knowledge, this knowledge creating an order, and this order offering power to those who know. And who knows? in the 17th century is the European white male who is on top of the evolutionary machine and who holds this power as sacred, but also as the sword that is able to create not only certainty, but a new world that we are living in today. So, this is my story for today. I know it's a lot. I know it's pretty radical, but I do hope that as we go along, I can fill up the holes that may be there. So with this, I stop sharing and the floor is yours. Questions, comments. Don't forget, this is an introductory lecture. So we have 11 more to go along. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Brown, for your very enlightening lecture about the RRI philosophy and foundations. So I would like to invite all our participants for any questions, any queries related to this presentation, and also related to anything of the course. So the floor is open.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead. But could you, when you're asking, when anyone is asking a question, could you turn on your camera if it's okay with you? Because it's kind of nicer to see your faces than just the name and the picture.
I'm sorry, sir. Actually, I'm not in a suitable background to open my camera as of now.
Okay, that's fair enough. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. So you mentioned in one of your slides, probably towards the end of it, that science by the end of 17th century led to the transformation from a transcendental space to a spatialized transcendence. Can you please elaborate more on it and what exactly you meant when you said this?
Absolutely, great question. Yes, thank you. The world before was a very simple place. The transcendental space that people have been living in for 2,000 years was centered around the Earth. The Earth was in the center of this space. Up around the Earth was heavens with gods who have created the Earth and who are constantly manipulating Earth and humankind on it and everyone else. And after humankind evaporates from Earth, they go to the underworld, and there certain things happen to them, good or bad. So the world was a simple spatial arrangement. There was heavens, there was Earth in the center, and there was the underworld down there. What the scientific revolution brought about, obviously changing from a Earth-focused spatial arrangement to a heliocentric arrangement, which had the sun in its center, and understand that it's not the Earth that is in the center, but it is the sun. Therefore, there are objects, Earth being one, moving around the sun. It had created a new space. This new space is the universe, in which somewhere there may be gods, somewhere there may be an underworld, but actually the world written, or the universe written in the language of mathematics, has laws and regularities and movement, most importantly. And this space has not given up on transcendence, but has reversed from a transcendentally imagined space to a space that has laws and regulations which are still holding a certain element of transcendent that is beyond human, but that beyond humanness is incorporated into the laws and regularities that this new post-scientific revolution social or spatial order has created. So this is what I mean by the transition from a transcendental space to spatial transcendence. And obviously, this has created a new world, a world in which I think we live today. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you
Go
so
ahead.
much.
Sir, I have a question.
Go ahead.
So this is Rasmi Ranjan from Shiksha Anusandhan University, that is Odisha, Bhubaneswar, Odisha, India. So I loved your presentation, sir, from throughout this, from beginning to revolution to this evolution. So my question is that being a researcher of management domain, how far this RRI will helpful? So can you just throw some light?
Could you repeat it? How much RRI will be helpful to you
for management,
as...
in the prospect of management research, because I belongs to management domain. So how far it is helpful in management domain? So can you throw some light, or can you give some hints that yes, it is also useful in management research also?
I think it is useful. The question is, how can we answer the question, what has university or knowledge done for us? And I think that in a more responsible research and innovation environment, we understand that that power knowledge that we have created is not ours alone, but it has to be shared. And once it has to be shared not only, and this is why I started this story with the 17th century and how science, research, and innovation is a European phenomena, European political phenomena. In order to open up the discussion, if it is political, then how can we politicize it? How can we make it more democratic? How can we make it more inclusive? How can we make it more equitable? It's obviously fast forwarding to the end of the course, your question, but my argument will be twofold. One, that responsible research and innovation that is politicizing the world of knowledge, or actually politicizing the world, should be made more democratic, but also we should incorporate certain ideals beyond Europe, beyond this 17th century way of thinking that has been also the vehicle, the ideological vehicle for colonization, obviously something that you are very aware of. Not only shall we democratize knowledge, but we need to decolonize knowledge. And for me, responsible research and innovation means these two things. One, democratizing. Second, decolonizing. The question, obviously, don't ask me yet, how? I hope that we will have some courses or some tutorials in which we can also discuss, and that will be the management bit.
Yes, sir.
I have a
Thank you
question.
for your insightful thoughts.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. Hi. Excellent lecture, and then I really thoroughly enjoyed it, and it brought back the memories of our MPhil coursework, in which we dissected science and opening the black books and all those things. So I was, I'll not say I was intrigued, rather I've been anxious for quite long about what you said about in the beginning about real. So my question is there really a real? And if it's a real, how to validate it? Then we have to go through a framework. And recently I had a very heated argument with a friend. And then once we start like using a framework, and then it's like bringing back to what Thomas Kuhn's paradigm, construction of knowledge, then how we can challenge something using the same paradigm. So if any thoughts on that, actually, because it's not been a matter of like being intrigued, or I've been anxious about it, actually.
That's great. That's a great way of. This is what I teach when people, decide that they have done their bachelor's and they have done their master's and think whether they want to go into academia and write the PhD. And then this is exactly what I tell them. Are you anxious? Are you really concerned about anything? Because if you are genuinely concerned, then go into academia and be a scientist. If you just want to do it because of the title or because you want to learn something, don't do it. Academia is not for the faint-hearted who want to learn something. Academia is for those who are truly anxious about something, and I think that's great that you asked this. You seem to be truly anxious. I can't answer you. How would I know whether there is a real? What I think is that the real is an imaginary. We imagine the real to be. And, being a philosopher, one has to watch his language. So imagining the real does not mean that this imaginary is not real. And in order to understand this real, we have to try to imagine the imaginary. And I think you refer to Thomas Kuhn, who will be an important element in my next lecture, or his ideas will be important elements in my next lecture. One of my arguments will be that Thomas Kuhn hasn't gone far enough. He stayed in the domain of epistemology, that is knowledge. He did not want, did not care, was not interested in questioning the real. The only thing he questioned was, and this was obviously the time in the 70s when philosophers of science have questioned the knowledge about the real. And will we have a final and absolute knowledge about the real? And Thomas Kuhn's answer was, no, we won't, because it's only paradigms we have. It's only a specific way of thinking, or as Thomas Kuhn says, way of seeing, that we see the real. And that's all I can say. But he did not question whether, that was not his concern, whether there was a real at all. Also, his thinking, obviously he was a physicist. So while his ideas were used in philosophy, his concern was not philosophical. His concern was methodological. Is there a final method, physics or mathematics? And he says, no. There are paradigms, and those changing paradigms sometimes lead, and this was, the time when incommensurability was a key concept. How can two ways of seeing live side by side when they come to absolutely and utterly contradictory understanding of the real? And that was the answer: paradigm. There are different paradigms. There is a different paradigm in Newton than there is in Einstein, and obviously a different paradigm in quantum. And all of these can live together, and they're all right within their own ways of seeing or within their own paradigm. What I'll try to do in this course is go one step further.
Can I ask you another question, or we are short of time, you can shift to somebody else?
If there is anyone else, then maybe we should give the word to somebody else. We have
yeah, I see a raised hand, so thank you for your response.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, I have a question. So you talked about the science replacing the abstract thought with the common sense. And although I kind of second your statement, but I have an argument here. So, the society we live in the present world, the institutions, the architectural forms or whatsoever, they're all more or less constructed or imagined realities.
You muted yourself.
I'm sorry, sir, the very idea of the constructed or the imagined realities, it can be abstract, to be precise. It would start with an abstract thought, which might or might not result in, some common sense. So what are your thoughts on that? Like, are we still following the science, or do we start with abstract thought and then, proceed towards more fundamental, sensible, empirical knowledge?
Thank you for the question. You're using a lot of words that would need a lot of explanation before I can answer So first and foremost, I did not say that the scientific revolution substituted common sense. That's a different concept. What it did substitute is Aristotelian thought, or the thought that has dominated the world, which is attributed to Aristotle, basically looking for final cause in the world and finding these final cause in a transcendental organization of the world. Whether it's abstract, my concern, I would say, my concern is this Heideggerian quote about the violence and what thinking does to the world, or rather, to use Heideggerian expression, what the human does to the world when the world worlds. Heideggerian ontology argued that Western metaphysics has gone wrong in the past 3,000 years because of this violence that has been done to the world, worlding. And what I'm trying to do here is, obviously the theme is research and innovation, but my focus is the responsible. How can we reflect on the violence of thinking and through this reflection on the violence of thinking, create something that is more responsible to the real, to the human, to the non-human. And as Swati Kumari has asked, is it important whether there is a real? Or can we live in this imaginary that we think is real, or is the real, but live in a more equitable, better, more sustainable, etc. way? And you'll see what my answer will be, hopefully, at the end of this course. But thank you for the question.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else? Anup, then over to you.
Okay. So if you don't have any more questions, so we can conclude today's session. And also we'll invite you for the tomorrow's session. And you asked about that you are sharing something. So those are the papers, or only reading list?
No, there is a reading list, and there are a number of papers, not the books, but
Okay.
the papers are there, and the books hopefully you can get from the library. And I'll send it to you, Anup. The link, if I'll send the link anyway, and I'll try to see why it asks for a username and password. It shouldn't. Okay.
Okay. So this is also full text articles are there, or
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that is great. So also I circulated your papers which are coming in the course list. So course that is program schedule. So I downloaded all those papers and circulated to our participant, and also I circulated some of the papers written by me and also Dr. Saurabindu Bhaduri. So I think many of them are reading that course materials I already circulated. And if you also you are going to share your presentations, or
yes, they're big, so
okay.
I will upload it to the same place where the reading list is, and people can access it and download it in a PDF format.
Okay, so that is great thing, because they may need to answer some of the kind of assessment questions. So we'll prepare one MCQ kind of multiple choice question kind of things for the assessment. Maybe 10 or 20 questions will be there for the participant to answer, and based on that we can have some kind of assessment for the course. And also we that GIAN Secretariat, they have sent me feedback form for the participants to obtain from the participant, and we circulate that form at the end of the course. So maybe on day 9 or day 10, we'll circulate that form to all of you. And also I think if you have any more query or questions, you can ask by email. Robert's email is given in the PowerPoint presentation, so one can note it down and ask the questions. Also, I'll share with all of you his email ID, so that you can ask questions and he'll reply back the answers to all these questions in the next session. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Most importantly, please ask questions, and I'll try to answer. As said, obviously, I don't know all of you, so I don't know where you all come from. Not physically where you come from, but what kind of discipline you come from. but I'll try to do my best to try to answer your questions from wherever you may come from, whatever disciplinary background you may come from. Okay? Thank you very much.
Dr. Saradindu, you want to say something?
No, I also wanted to thank Robert for this fascinating, the first lecture. And I think that was a valid point. I mean, we don't know much about the background of the participants. So is there any way to, get more information about it? Or no? I'm not able to, you are muted.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Actually, I'm just telling that we can ask our participant to introduce themselves if it is possible. I think
we are still within the time.
Yeah.
So maybe
1 minute introduction of all of you. So we can start with Siddharth Dangi, because I see their name on the top. So Siddharth Dangi, can you introduce yourself?
Yes, sir. Sir, I am for Studies in Science Policy, a research scholar there. And my background is predominantly in science, but I'm researching in social science right now. I'm a forensic scientist by qualification.
And then Swati, are you online? Or
yeah, hello everyone, I'm Swati and I'm about to submit my PhD and I'm working on innovating responsibly for the future of women's safety in public transportation. So when been reading and using RRI and different frameworks within RRI, and as my background, I did engineering in biochemical engineering, and then I did master's in sociology, and my MPhil from the Center for Studies in Science Policy from GIAN.
So she is our center student, and also Siddharth Dangi is also a center student. So we see Satsat Agarwal.
Hi, this is Muhammad Ibrahim.
Okay. Okay, Muhammad Ibrahim. Yeah. Introduce yourself.
Yeah, this is Muhammad Ibrahim. Actually, I'm in the library. That's why I can't speak loudly.
Okay.
I'm a PhD scholar in Central University of Punjab and Economics Department. And my research topic is social innovation in social entrepreneurship. Thank you.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Sir, may I go ahead?
Please.
Yes, sir. I am Shashwat Agrawal. I am currently pursuing my master's in development and labor studies at Jawaharlal Nehru University. I come from a social science background and I don't have a science background as such, but the topic in itself, responsible research and innovation, intrigued me a lot, and I thought of pursuing the GIAN course. So that is why I took the course. I have done my graduation in political science, and I did the LAMP fellowship at PRS Legislative Research in India with a member of parliament for a year. And post that, I'm currently pursuing my master's course in development studies at JNU. So yes, sir, that is all about myself.
Thank you. And Ashish, are you online? Okay. Yeah, Ashish is coming.
Yeah, my name is Ashish Gosain. I believe I'm audible.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm a PhD student with the Center for Studies in Science Policy, and I have basically a legal background, and I have worked in the area of intellectual property. So particularly my research involves around the governance structure or the the networks of relationships of various actors that enable innovation. So in a sense, the theme of responsible innovation is also about the networks and the actors that bring about innovation. So that's where I connect with this topic. Yeah.
Okay. Rasmi Ranjan, are you online?
Yes. Yes, sir. So, good afternoon to everyone, the respected members. So this is Rasmi Ranjan Panigrahi. I am continuing myself as resource associate in Shiksha Anusandhan University, deemed to be university, that is in the state of Odisha, Bhubaneswar. And recently I submitted my thesis on the topic inventory management on operational performance of manufacturing farms. So already I have attended one GIAN program that is conducted by IIM Indore in the year 2019. So that was on MMR, multimedia, that is called mixed method research. So this is my second program with the GIAN. So I thought of that this is a new topic, that to learn something, even if I'm from management background. So I have interested to learn something. So that's why I've joined this program. So this is from my side, sir.
So thank you. And then Vidyarthi, are you online?
Yes. Very good afternoon to all of you. Am I audible?
Yes, sure.
Okay. So very good afternoon to all of you and nice to see all of you. My name is Dr. Vidyarthi Datta. I am basically from pure science background, that is physics, and then shifted to library and information science. And right now I am working as faculty member in Vidyasagar University and involved in teaching and research of library and information science, and particularly the metric studies, scientometrics and bibliometrics. And right now I am the principal investigator of one DST sponsored research project on scientometrics that is nearly almost completed. Within 1 month, we'll submit our final report. And I also earlier participated one program of RRI, Responsible Research and Innovation. And I am interested particularly the features, various features of RRI, and the features which are also throwing new challenges. And in India particularly, our government is going to implement the new national education policy, and that will bring, and education is there telling that within 2030 there will be a paradigm shift in entire research and education system in India. Then how to contemplate with the various characteristic features and aspects, with various facets of RRI concepts. And therefore I'm highly interested to participate here, and I think I can enrich my knowledge and I will be enriched. That's all. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Vidyarthi. Now, Dr. Sinubhi, are you online? And Vibhuti Ranjan, are you online?
Hello everyone, I am Vibhuti Ranjan Bhattacharya. I am basically a mechanical engineering background. My graduation and master's is from mechanical engineering, IIT Guwahati. Then I did PhD on technological innovation for rural development, basically on frugal innovation studies. And now I am working as a research associate at a transdisciplinary research cluster, frugality studies, which is recently started at GIAN, Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. Here we are now studying about frugal innovation and frugal innovation system dynamics, our ecosystem. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Dr. Aisha, are you online?
Yes. Good evening, everybody. I am Dr. Aisha Chaudhary from the School of Computer and System Sciences at JNU. So I did my PhD in computer vision and machine learning, and here at the School of Computer Science, I am an assistant professor. My area of research is intelligent transportation systems and assisted living applications. And so I feel that, RRI is a very important aspect of autonomous driving, ADAS systems, and even assistive mobility, because it talks about lots of things related to camera-based applications, which require us to be responsible as we do our research. So I'm really interested in doing this course from this perspective. Thank you so much. Hello.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I hope I was audible.
Yeah, you are audible, and also we heard about your themes, that is machine learning and artificial intelligence, and message other areas. Yeah. So,
thank you.
Thank you. Abhinandan, are you online?
Yeah, I'm online. Hello, everyone. Very good afternoon. I'm Abhinandan, and I actually is an alumni from GIAN, and I have done my PhD from science policy and in innovation dynamics and shifting cultivation. And it was a long time back in 2011. I was awarded the PhD, and now I'm associated with Tata in social science, and I'm working as an assistant professor in Center for Ecology, Environment and Sustainable Development. Which is my interest area because I come from the basic background of botany and ecology. So regarding responsible research in innovation, I think these are the three important words, at the same time very vague, because in the sense that when you have to be responsible, how we become responsible. Secondly, if you have to think about research, what is the nature of research that has been coming up in the field? And besides, as Professor Brown was contesting the word innovation, that was actually very intriguing. And in fact, it reminded me regarding that my position and why I decided to join this program is because of the way how the whole ecological connection in this whole world is changing nowadays. And the word that he ended up, which intrigued me a lot, is that I'd be definitely keen to understand that whether we are being left at the end whether the ontology is actually reaching towards epistemology, because this is something very contestable. Because given the land use changes, given the climate change scenarios, and given the way how we actually try to picturize the innovation picture in future, is it possible that ontology will become epistemology or vice versa? With that, I think I look forward to the learnings from this workshop. And once again, I thank also Dr. Anup at some point, because he has been in constant touch with me, and also giving me a chance once again to become a student of CSFP of long time. Thank you.
Thank you. And also, I would like to invite all other participants. I could not make out who is online. Dr. Rita Soni is there? Are you there? Dr. Shinu, Shelly Deparma.
Yes, sir. So I'm Shelly. I'm currently pursuing my master's in climate science and policy at the Energy and Resources Institute, School of Advanced Studies. Before that, I did my bachelor's in civil engineering from National Institute of Technology. And I also did 2 fellowships, one on sustainable living and management, and the other on global policy, diplomacy, and sustainability. So I currently am a research intern at National Center for Medium Range Weather Forecasting, and I'm using various climate models to better the global models that we have at NCMRWF. That's all.
Okay, thank you. And Abhijit Nayar, are you online?
Yeah, I'm there.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I'm in behavioral science, and I'm a professor of behavioral sciences in the Management Institute. So I like the concept of what was written about the course, especially when it comes to relevance and responsible research. So I love the idea and love what I heard today. Thank you, Robert Brown, for the session today. So appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Abhijit. And also now invite Madhuri Kumari. Miss, Madhuri.
Namaste to all. I'm audible, sir?
Yeah, you're audible. You can turn on your video as well, if possible.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, this topic is very new for me because I'm from the library information science. I did my graduation in geology BSc, but after that I took the library science and I did my BLIs and MLIS, and after that I am doing my PhD in library information science, and my topic is related to the library websites and their services. And as a librarian or a library professional, this is very important that any innovation or any new services should be that much responsible to the users, because we dealing with the society. So this topic intrigued me to connect in that way. So I thought to enroll this in course, and this is a very new perspective for me. I'm trying to learn from this course. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, thank you, Madhuri, and all the best for your PhD work.
Thank you.
Siraj, are you online?
Yes, sir.
Okay, please introduce. Not Siddharth, Siraj. Quick Siraj. Okay, then Prakash. Now, are you online? And I'm seeing CRI. I could not make it. So, is it related to cricket? Okay. Sanaj Kumar, are you online? Okay. He's also not there. Sylvia Martin, are you online?
Yes. Hello. Hello, everyone. I'm Silvia Martin. I work for the Oceanic platform of the Canary Islands in Spain.
Okay.
I am R&D project manager. Sorry?
Thanks for joining.
Thank you very much. I am R&D project manager there at the Oceanic platform of the Canary Islands, and I manage several European funded projects. And some of them are related with science with and for society, and they include the RRI approach and methodology. That's why I'm taking part in this amazing course. And my background is on law and business management, and I've got a master's in blue economy. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. And Sanoj, can you unmute yourself? It's showing you are unmuted. Can you speak? No, we are not getting your voice.
Hello. Am I
Yeah,
audible?
now we can. Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Good evening to all of you. I am Sanoj. I am a PhD scholar in Central Studies Science Policy, GNU. So I am working on lead acid batteries, waste management. So I am dealing particularly. I am focusing our lead acid battery waste management practices and policies. So when I was going through this content of this RRI, this workshop, so I came across actor network theory, system theory, and there are other facets of this RRI. So that intrigued me to take part to participate in this workshop. So I'm looking forward to learn new things of RRI and other dimensions of RRI. So yeah, thank you. This is all from my side.
Okay, thank you. And then I will ask Muhammad Ibrahim, already introduced, and Tania, are you online?
Yes, sir. Sorry, sir, I won't be able to turn on my camera for now due to some reasons. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Tanya. I'm currently doing master's from GNU in sociology. I'm in first semester of my program, so have just started my journey to social research. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Udo, hello, are you online? Although, oh, sorry, I don't, sorry, I pronounced it well. Yeah, are you online? Yeah.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. We can hear you.
My name is Dowu Oluge. I'm a research fellow at the National Institute of Science, Communication, and Policy Research. I'm actually a policy researcher, science policy researcher. My background is government, and I'm also a lecturer at a private university, Lead City University in Nigeria. Thank you.
So you are from Nigeria and presently in India.
Doing my postdoc in India. So I've been here for the past 6 months.
So all the best for your journey, for your academic journey. And also I'd like to invite Rosalind Mohanty. Are you online? Rosalind?
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening. I can hear you.
Yes, sir.
Please introduce.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Rosalind Mohanty. I am from Bhubaneswar, Odisha, and I'm doing my research in tourism and hospitality from Shiksha Anusandhan Deemed to be University. And currently, I'm working as a faculty in this tourism and hospitality subject in BJP Junior College in Bhubaneswar. And this mail, actually, this mail I have got from my college. Our dean sir has forwarded me this mail to join the GIAN course, actually, sir.
Okay. That is fine. If you are not already registered, you can register with the GIAN course so that we can give certificate to you because it will also be beneficial for your academic career. So
yes, sir. Yes, sir. I have already registered with GIAN and also with JNU, sir.
Okay, that's fine. That's wonderful. And anybody is left or wants to introduce? Okay.
Okay, if there's nobody else, this is fascinatingly interesting to hear so many people from so different backgrounds.
Sorry to interrupt you, sir. Sir, actually, as I'm working as a faculty, so I have to do classes. Actually, for sometimes I was in class, so I had to left from the meeting. Actually, if we will get the recorded session, then it will be beneficial, actually, for us. And that's why I'm asking for the recorded session. If you have, can forward.
You can see if you are online using any Zoom meeting app, so you can see live on YouTube. You can see the copy streaming link is there. You can copy the streaming link and you can reuse that link for yeah, somebody has already shared. So this link, you can see the link and also
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Yeah, I got it, sir. Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent. So I think if I want to sum up how I can approach what I'm trying to tell you guys from so different backgrounds is the following. Somebody asked the question, how can someone be responsible? And my answer is, to be responsible means to question the givens and the assumptions, science, research, and innovation included. And I'll give you some food for thought how this questioning of the givens and the assumptions can be done. So please Raise your voice, ask questions, comment, and translate, most importantly. Translate what I'm trying to tell you to your field, your research, your questions, your assumptions, your givens, and how to question those. Could somebody check whether the link for the readings is now open and accessible? No, that's not good. I don't know why that is, because I removed all barriers that are there. Maybe I'll share another link.
You can share by email because.
Can you try this link now?
Yeah, this works.
This works. Excellent. Okay, so
Chat session was up.
yes, this works. Okay, excellent. So this is the link. Anup, I'll send it. He'll share it with all of you. Thank you very much.
Wow.
Hope to see you tomorrow.
Thanks a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
So, thank you very much, Robert. It is the end of the day now, so we can see all of you and tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you. See you tomorrow.
Thanks a lot. See you tomorrow.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.